During the school year in the gateway to the Hill Country,
Good morning, Melissa.
Morning, Coach. How are you?
Carl Waits arrives at the Dripping Springs ISD bus barn to drive his bus route every morning. But Coach is what people still call him.
At least I don't get derogatory hollers anymore.
Yeah, exactly. From 1969 to 1981, Waits was Dripping Springs head football coach.
I kind of don't remember which year this is.
Waits also coached track, golf, and basketball. In fact, he coached a familiar face, current Lake Travis boys basketball head coach Clint Beatty.
In 1969, that's the first year I was a head coach. We almost won district and my quarterback broke his leg.
This scrapbook is a collection of his memories he and his family have made since arriving in Dripping Springs in 1965.
When you compare 65 to 2018, what's the most notable difference about Dripping Springs?
The growth. When I came here, there's about 100 in high school, and they said about 300 in all of the school. And now we've got thousands, and we've got nearly 2,000 in high school, and I don't know how many in the rest of the school system, but it's grown big, and I'm a small town guy, so it's not to my liking that we're so crowded.
Now,
But you have to live with it.
You were the head football coach?
I ended up being. When I came here, I worked with Coach Orrin Rippey, and he and I were the only two on the staff. I had assistant football, head basketball, head track, and all of junior high boys. And then he had head football, head baseball, and all of the varsity girls, all of the girls actually, high school girls and middle school, middle school, junior high back then, and girls, so that we too took up everything and went everywhere.
Oh, of course, wore many hats.
You wonder how we did it, but it was fun then.
Throughout all the growth and changes in Dripping Springs, Carl Waits remains a fixture in this community. From playing slow-pitch softball in a league he formed in 1975,
You have a really nice swing. Is that the type of swing you've had your entire life?
Yeah, and I didn't hit it much farther any time during my life than that, but I wasn't noted for long distance hitting. I still like it, and it's something to do, so I keep after it. My wife doesn't like it that much because she's had to keep score for all 44 years of the league.
To keeping stats and scorebooks with his wife.
If you've played one at bat in the league in the last 44 years, you're in the stats.
Waits also writes for the local paper.
I sit up in the stands and take all the stats, just like I've always done, and go home and use that to write my articles in the newspaper and also to keep the stats. Because another thing that I'm really proud of is that I've always liked stats.
Yeah.
And so as I was whenever I was coaching, whether it's Pony League or whatever, I kept all the kids' stats all the way through and had a season end to it. And about 3 or 4 years after I got started here, I decided to start setting some goals for Hall of Honor type deals.
One notable basketball stat in Dripping Springs history was set by this man, the retired legendary Hayes football coach, Bob Shelton.
He holds the record for the most points for Dripping Springs, and we're missing 1 year, so he's probably had another couple of hundred points his freshman year that I haven't been able to find a scorebook for.
Waits is also a historian, if you will.
When Mr. Knaut came here, and he was here 19 years.
The retired Dripping Springs coach gave me a tour of the original Dripping Springs High School, and he delivered some historical nuggets attached to each of the classes pictured in this hallway.
And this was my first senior class that I had.
Including an interesting fact, the father of Bob Shelton was once Dripping Springs superintendent. Now get this, Waits actually wrote a book about the history of Dripping Springs in the 1990s, and it was published 11 years later.
When was that seed planted in your head, and what initiated that drive or motivation to simply write a book?
Well, it was an unintended consequence. What I thought in the early 90s, I decided that what I could do for my class was go around and videotape all the buildings around here and then give a little history on the buildings.
Yeah.
And I did that, and I got talking to people, and they got telling me so much about all the buildings. I said, I don't know how to put all this in a video. So I kind of slowed down on what my fervor, and then I got to start finding out more and more information. And 11 and a half years later, out came a book. It's a forever type book. That part of it back there is not going to change, and the people today are not going to know what dripping looked like in the old days.
An accomplished, humble man living the best retired life with his wife.
3 nights a week we're at the softball field,
Right.
so that takes that time away, and we're driving a bus during the school year and going to ball games. I don't know how many thousands of games I've seen since I've been here at Dripping Springs.
A Dripping Springs legend everyone knows as Coach. Sean Clinch, KVUE Sports.